Get your bleach and holy water ready because I have some seriously cringe-exposing stories for you. Let's start the video. This story is about a new male teacher who was seen at many places with a girl and sending not so good text messages. There was this new English teacher at our school, let's call him Mr. Donovan, who seemed cool at first. He was young, funny, and not as strict as the other teachers. Students liked him right away, especially when he cracked jokes or quote song lyrics in the middle of class. But then people started noticing how he'd linger after the bell, often chatting with a girl named Kayla. At first, it looked like regular teacher-student talk about homework or grades. But soon, it started getting strange. Kayla was usually quiet in class, not the type to seek attention. Yet with Mr. Donovan, she'd stay behind for long discussions.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Sometimes you pass the classroom and see them huddled together, whispering and laughing about something that clearly wasn't schoolwork. A couple of students teased Kayla about having a crush on the new teacher, but she'd just roll her eyes. Apparently, Kayla had started getting texts after school hours, late at night even, from a contact that clearly wasn't her classmate.
I don't like where this is going.
People started talking. One day at lunch, Kayla left her phone on the table, and a friend caught a glimpse of a preview that said something like, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. You looked amazing today." The message ended with a winking emoji. The friend almost dropped Kayla's phone and shot. What really made it suspicious was how Mr. Donovan acted in the hallways. If he spotted Kayla by her locker, he'd slow down to say hi. If she was alone in a side hallway, he'd somehow appear, claiming he just needed to check something. They'd stand too close, talk too softly. Meanwhile, Kayla started skipping group hangouts, giving lame excuses like, "I have to study for Mr. Donovan's quiz," even though we knew there wasn't a quiz scheduled. One afternoon, a couple of students who stayed late for drama club caught Mr. Donovan and Kayla near the back exit of the auditorium. It looked like they were laughing over something on his phone. The moment they noticed other people around, Kayla shoved her phone into her pocket and Mr. Donovan stepped away like he'd done nothing wrong. It was the quickest shift from friendly to casual in broad daylight. That alone raised eyebrows.
Stop it. Get some help.
Over. The next week, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing someone whisper about Mr. Donovan and Kayla. Some people had screenshots. Kayla's phone showed notifications at odd hours, like PM or midnight. Rumor was the texts were all compliments or playful inside jokes that no normal teacher would ever send. A few started calling it the late night messages, while others said they'd seen them near the parking lot after school, driving off in the same direction. Every story seemed to add a new layer of mystery. Then came the day a classmate noticed Kayla hanging back after the bell again. From the hallway, they peeked inside and saw Mr. Donovan leaning on a desk, phone in hand, while Kayla stood right next to him. They both burst into laughter at something on the screen, maybe a meme, maybe another flirty text before Mr. Donovan reached over to show Kayla something closer. The vibe in that room didn't feel like normal, if you know what I mean. Why then? The tension was almost too high to ignore. No one could confirm it, but the stories piled up, making everything way more sus. Some kids claimed they saw a faint lipstick mark on Mr. Donovan's shirt collar one morning. Oh, that could have been pure gossip. Day by day, the rumors got spicier, and Mr. Donovan and Kayla acted more on edge at school. Teachers began noticing the tension between them. Students kept sneaking looks at Kayla's phone, but she guarded it like a hawk. Eventually, people figured it was only a matter of time before someone saw them together outside campus or leaked text messages. Mr. Donovan seemed more nervous in class, stumbling over words when Kayla walked in. She started looking over her shoulder constantly, as if she expected a teacher to pop out and confront them at any moment. This story is about a girl who was seen with our new English teacher doing stuff, if you know what I mean.
FBI, open up!
There was this girl, let's call Eliza. She was one of those students who floated between different circles, always polite and helpful in class. People joked that she was teacher's pet material because every time Mr. Carter, our new English teacher, needed volunteers, Eliza's hand would shoot up instantly. At first, nobody thought anything about it. She was just that kid who always wanted good grades.
Wait a minute!
But then the whispers started gaying with small stuff. Eliza hanging around Mr. Carter's desk long after the bell rang. Them sharing a quick laugh over something on his laptop, or her lingering at his classroom door during lunch. A few friends teased her, saying she had a teacher crush, but she'd ignore it. Still, it all seemed harmless until the day. A couple of students spotted them sitting together at a nearby coffee shop. At first, it could have been written off as just extra tutoring, but the way they leaned close over a single cup of coffee looked more like a date than a homework session. Things got even more suspicious when Eliza started showing up to school earlier than usual. One morning, a student from the yearbook committee was snapping sunrise shots of the school building and noticed Mr. Carter's car parked in the lot. Eliza was getting out of the passenger seat. The yearbook kid froze, took a couple more photos from a distance, and quietly backed away. It didn't take a detective to figure out what was going on. They'd arrived together well before any other teachers or students were around. A few weeks later, rumors were flying left and right. Students swore they saw Mr. Carter and Eliza sneaking off into the auditorium's backstage area during a prep period. Someone from the drama club went to retrieve some props and found them standing a bit too close, giggling like middle school kids with a secret. They both jumped when the drama kid walked in, and Eliza quickly claimed she was helping Mr. Carter set up lighting for next week's presentations. The excuses always seemed ready on her lips. They were caught once in the foreign language. Wing after hours, claiming they were searching for old dictionaries. Another time, Eliza was seen standing by Mr. Carter's car, looking around nervously. With every new incident, people rolled their eyes. By then, everyone was buzzing with talk of what might really be going on. And Eliza, no matter how cornered she seemed, just kept on acting like it was all perfectly normal. This story is about two students, let's call them Rob and Donnie, who thought they could do whatever they wanted without getting caught. They were the type of couple who couldn't seem to keep their hands off each other. At first, people just rolled their eyes, figuring they were in that honeymoon phase. But soon, they started taking it way too far. One day during study hall, they decided the library would be their next spot for some alone time. Since the librarian often stepped out to run errands, they thought they'd be safe sneaking behind a tall bookshelf in the back. At first, they just whispered and giggled, but before long, they were full on making out and doing no-no things. Other students sitting nearby started noticing the sounds pages rustling, the occasional squeak of shoes on the floor, that sort of thing. Nobody dared to go look at first. It was too awkward, but curiosity got the better of one girl who peeked around a shelf and saw them in a super close position. That girl rushed back to her table, trying not to burst out laughing and gagging at the same time. She whispered what she saw to her friends, and word spread in minutes. Soon, a small group of students decided to check for themselves. The investigation ended quickly when one friend nearly collided with UU brat boy, who stepped out looking red-faced and messy hair. The girl followed behind him a moment later, trying to act normal, but nobody bought it. The crazy part is that this wasn't their first stunt. Word around school suggested that the brats had been doing this for a while now. A few days before the library incident, they got caught in the empty music room after the last bell. Normally, that room is locked up once all the band kids leave, so nobody really expects anyone in there. The hall monitor was doing a routine walkthrough when she noticed a faint glow under the door. Someone had left the lights on, which was already weird. She stepped inside to see if maybe a student had forgotten an instrument or needed help. Right away, she spotted movement in the corner by the piano. There they were, pressed together like they'd been caught mid-smooch. The second they saw the monitor's flashlight, they jumped apart, red-faced and breathing fast.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
The breathing told another story, if you know what I mean, but that wasn't all. Later that same week, they snuck into the gym storage closet after PE. This room's basically a fortress of old equipment mats, basketballs, broken hurdle stuff that rarely gets used. UU brats must have thought it was a perfect hideaway. As usual, they couldn't keep quiet for long, and one of the basketball players who had stayed behind to practice heard muffled voices behind the stacked mats. He went to check it out, half expecting a raccoon or something, and ended up scaring the absolute daylight out of them. Rob scrambled to his feet, breathing heavily, and Donnie quickly smoothed out her shirt, claiming they'd just been talking about homework. The funny part is that their excuses never added up. I mean, who decides to talk about homework in a dark storage closet after PE? So by the time they ended up in the library, nobody was too shocked they'd become an unofficial, problematic couple of school.